Welcome to this module. Who is the successor? The successor is a trustee. They're called a successor trustee, and this person is responsible for administering and settling the trust after the creator or the grantor of the trust dies. And that is only if the grantor of the trust was also the trustee of the trust, which usually we see that in a living trust or a revocable trust. So the successor trustee is also responsible for the trust in the event that the trustee becomes incapacitated or unable to make decisions. So the current trustee that was appointed by the creator of the trust is the initial trustee. If that initial trustee becomes incapacitated or passes away, or they are just unable to make decisions and operate the trust, then at that point they are able to take over the successor trustee at that time. So who appoints the successor trustee? That individual can be appointed either by the grantor or by the trustee, but usually it is the trustee. So later in this module, I'll show you what you need to do in order to appoint a successor. The successor trustee is almost always named to ensure that the trust will still be managed and operated after the death of the initial trustee. So you do not want to wait until you need a successor in order to appoint a successor. You want to be preventative and you want to make sure that you have a successor before you become incapacitated or before there are any accidents or anything like that, natural disasters, anything like that. So early on, you want to determine and choose who is going to be your successor as the trustee. Now, what are going to be their responsibilities? Well, their responsibilities are going to be the same as your responsibilities. So everything that the trustee does, all of their powers, their roles, their responsibilities, and their duties now becomes the roles, responsibilities, duties, and powers of the successor. But the successor does not have to assume those roles and responsibilities until their appointment is needed when there is no longer a trustee. How do you appoint a trustee? Your successor trustee should be someone that you trust. So it's someone that can carry out your financial affairs, someone that can look after your beneficiaries, and someone that can act in accordance with your wishes that you have deemed in the trust. So the most important thing for you to keep in mind when you are selecting a successor trustee is that you need to choose someone who is responsible, someone who can actually handle the role, and someone who can be a good trustee and actually operate the trust and look out for the best interests of the beneficiaries. So when appointing a trustee, you might want to consider these individuals. You might want to consider your adult children, which may be the beneficiaries at this time, and then they can now move over as a successor trustee. You may want to consider relatives or siblings like aunts, uncles, parents, or your siblings. You may want to consider close family friends like childhood friends, best friends, someone from church, maybe a co-worker that you've known for a long time. Another is a financial advisor or tax professional, because these individuals are already fiduciary individuals, especially tax advisors and financial advisors. So they are already used to the roles and responsibilities of being a fiduciary. And so they are sometimes one of the best candidates for the job. You might want to consider an estate planning lawyer, because, like I said, they are already in a fiduciary responsible role, and they would just be an easy transition to becoming your successor trustee. And the last one is a trust company. So you can use a general management trust company as your third party organization for your successor trustee. So when you are appointing a successor, you need to nominate someone to serve as your successor trustee. When you do nominate that person, you do want to give that person the choice to be able to accept or decline the role. You do not want to force anyone into becoming your successor trustee, because there's a lot of pressure involved with them having to carry out the contents of your trust. And so if they choose to accept, then that trustee will typically meet with you to review the declarations of the trust. Okay, so you will basically be passing the baton, and so you're going to meet with them. You're going to go through the contents of the trust to make sure that this is something that they do want to move forward with and are in the full capacity to commit to and able to do. And at that point in time, when the successor is appointed and has accepted the role, then all they have to do is wait until they can begin administering the trust, which means that they'll wait, and sometimes it can be several years before they're able to fulfill their appointment. So they will wait until the position becomes available. That is it for this module.